She had no one left until a human pulled her into his arms. Zara pressed her back against the cold metal wall of the abandoned space station. Her violet skin had turned pale with fear, and her golden eyes darted nervously toward the shadows. The silence around her felt heavy and dangerous. She could hear her own rapid breathing echoing in the empty corridor. 3 days had passed since the raiders attacked her homeworld. 3 days since she watched her family and friends disappear in flashes of energy weapons. 3 days since she became the last surviving member of her species. The Kalari had been a peaceful race living on the outer rim of the galaxy. They never expected the brutal attack that wiped them from existence. Now Zara found herself alone on this derelict station floating in the void between star systems. Her small escape pod had barely made it here before running out of fuel. The station appeared abandoned, but she could sense movement in the lower levels. Something was hunting her. She clutched the small crystal pendant around her neck, the last gift from her mother before the attack. It pulsed with a soft blue light whenever danger approached. Right now it was glowing brighter than ever. Heavy footsteps echoed through the metal corridors, getting closer. Zara held her breath and tried to make herself smaller. The raiders had followed her here somehow. They would not stop until every trace of her people was gone. A shadow moved past the doorway where she hid. Zara saw the distinctive armor of a Thakari warrior, the same species that had destroyed her world. They were tall, brutish creatures with gray skin and red eyes. They lived only for conquest and destruction. The warrior stopped and sniffed the air. His enhanced senses could probably detect her scent. Zara knew she had nowhere to run. The station was small and there were at least 5 of them searching for her. Suddenly a new sound echoed through the station. The hiss of an airlock opening, followed by steady footsteps. These were different though. Lighter and more careful. The Thakari warrior near her hiding spot turned toward the new sounds with interest. A human voice called out clear and confident across the station. "Hello, anyone here? This is Captain John Blake of the merchant vessel. Hope we detected your distress beacon." The Thakari warrior smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. A lone human would be easy prey. He signaled to his companions, and they began moving toward the sound. Zara felt torn. She could stay hidden and let the human face the raiders alone, or she could try to warn him, but revealing herself would mean certain death. The crystal around her neck pulsed faster as her heart raced. The decision was made for her when her foot slipped on a loose piece of metal. The sound echoed loudly through the corridor. The Thakari warrior spun around and spotted her immediately. His red eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Found you, little one?" he growled in his harsh language. "You cannot hide from us forever." Zara ran. She sprinted down the corridor as fast as her legs could carry her. Behind her she could hear the heavy footsteps of the warrior giving chase. The other raiders would be converging on her position soon. She rounded a corner and nearly collided with a tall figure in a brown leather jacket. The human captain stood there calmly holding some kind of energy rifle. His dark hair was messy, and his green eyes showed no fear. When he saw her, "Behind you," Zara gasped, pointing back. The way she came, John Blake turned just as the Thakari warrior rounded the corner. The alien raised his weapon, but the human was faster. His rifle fired with a bright blue flash and the warrior collapsed. More footsteps approached from multiple directions. The human grabbed Zara's hand and pulled her into a side passage. "This way," he whispered. "Stay close." They moved quickly through the twisting corridors of the station. John seemed to know exactly where he was going. He led her through maintenance shafts and service tunnels, avoiding the main pathways where the other raiders would be searching. "How many?" Zara whispered. "4 more. He replied without slowing down. "I saw their ship when I docked." They reached a cargo bay where John's ship was connected to the station through an airlock. It was a small vessel, but it looked fast and well-maintained. "Get aboard," he said, pushing her toward the airlock. "I need to seal this behind us." As Zara stepped into the human ship, she heard energy weapons firing behind them. The remaining raiders had found their location. John quickly sealed the airlock and ran to the cockpit hold-on. he called out as his fingers danced across the controls. The ship detached from the station just as the cargo bay door exploded inward. The Thakari raiders rushed through, but they were too late. The human vessel was already accelerating away into open space. Zara collapsed into a passenger seat as the adrenaline left her system. She had survived, but she was still alone. The last of her kind floating through space with a stranger. John turned from the pilot controls and looked at her with concern. "Are you injured?" She shook her head, unable to speak. He brought her a cup of warm liquid that tasted like sweet earth. It helped calm her nerves. "What's your name?" he asked gently, sitting across from her. Zara. She managed to whisper, "I'm John Blake, nice to meet you, Zara. Though I wish it were under better circumstances." He paused and studied her face. "You're Kalari, aren't you, I thought? Your people lived on Kepler 7? Her golden eyes filled with tears. "They did until 3 days ago. The Thakari came with warships. They destroyed everything. Everyone I knew is gone." John's expression grew dark. "I heard rumors about attacks on the outer colonies, but I didn't know it was that bad. I'm sorry for your loss." The ship continued through space, carrying them away from the station and the raiders. John set course for a safe system, several jumps away. During the journey, he shared his food with Zara and gave her clean clothes to replace her torn garments. "Why did you help me?" she asked as they sat in the small galley. "Because it was the right thing to do," John replied simply. "No one should face something like that alone, but you risked your life for a stranger." John shrugged. "Maybe, but you're not a stranger anymore, are you?" Over the following days as they traveled together, Zara learned about human nature. John told her stories of Earth and the colonies. Human space was not perfect, but they had laws against the kind of genocide she had experienced. They protected refugees and punished war criminals. She also learned that John was not just a merchant. He worked with an underground network that helped survivors of Thakari attacks. There were others like her scattered across the galaxy. People who had lost everything but were still fighting to survive. When they reached the safe system, John introduced her to a community of refugees from dozens of different species. They had built a hidden colony on a small moon where they could live in peace. Many of them had been rescued by humans like John. The leader of the colony was an elderly Kalari male named Elder Keth. When he saw Zara, his eyes widened in disbelief. "Child, I thought I was the last," he said, embracing her. "There are 12 of us here now. You are not alone." Zara felt something break inside her chest. The weight of believing she was truly alone had been crushing her. Without realizing it, she began to cry. John placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now," he said. "You have family again." But as the weeks passed, Zara found herself drawn to the human who had saved her. John visited the colony regularly, bringing supplies and news from the outside galaxy. He always made time to check on her and listen to her stories about Kalari culture. One evening they sat together watching the sunset through the colony's observation dome. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink that reminded Zara of home. "I want to help," she said suddenly. John looked at her with surprise. "Help with what?" "Your work. Rescuing people like me. I can't just hide here while others suffer what I suffered. It's dangerous work, Zara. The Thakari have put bounties on anyone who interferes with their raids." She turned to face him, her golden eyes reflecting the sunset. "I've already lost everything I had to lose, but maybe I can help save others from the same fate." John smiled slowly. "You know the Thakari are terrified of one thing, war. Than any weapon or warship, they're afraid of hope. When survivors fight back, it proves they can be beaten." 3 months later, Zara stood on the bridge of John's ship as they approached another distress signal. She wore the blue uniform of the rescue network and carried equipment for treating injured refugees. The crystal pendant around her neck pulsed with soft light, but it was no longer from fear. Now it pulsed with purpose. She had found something worth fighting for. She had found a new family among the humans and other survivors. Most importantly, she had found someone who believed in her strength. As their ship moved toward the source of the distress signal, John placed his hand over hers on the control panel. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready," she replied. had work to do. There were more people out there who needed help, more survivors who thought they had no one left. But Zara knew the truth now. No one was ever truly alone. As long as there were people willing to reach out and help, the human had pulled her into his arms when she had nowhere else to turn. Now together they would reach out to others who needed the same hope.